All right, back again. It's the second time recording this bad boy. Okay, so quick update on the crypto side. My memes, my YZY, I scooped some more. BWT, I scooped some more. Buying, I didn't buy any recently, but I've been buying like 2 weeks prior. Um, Onto the stock stuff. Okay, like I had to make this video. Don't mind this, all right, because I'm in the middle of something, but I had to come because of a certain stock. So if you've heard me talk about this before, say it all the time. Main stocks: Ford, Levi, Wulf, Coca-Cola. These companies I have options in for over a year out, right? Wulf in particular. I also have other stocks too. Crcl and a couple other miscellaneous ones that we'll talk about. One is heavily shorted, but Wulf was one of those stocks. It's a miner. Okay, it owns Bitcoin. Was heavily a Bitcoin miner, and it still kind of is. But it's got something going on. We're going to talk about that. But also heavily shorted. Okay, it was always one of those plays that was heavily shorted, but also when we talk about the counterfeit shares, okay, it's always been a problem. Once you hear convertible notes, some people do convertible notes in the right way. The way that they did it, the company that they did it with is really what it is. They try to take advantage of them, okay, and then that's how we had the situation that we have with that company. So they have a short interest, right? But they also have a history of a toxic note lender. Okay, so it's basically just somebody that they went to raise money at the beginning stages of them being a company, and instead of this company trying to look out for their best interests, all I can say is the behavior that they took in like providing for these guys. What they did is not what you do if you're betting on this company to survive. Like, you wouldn't take the steps that lender took dealing with that company. You understand? Okay, that's all you need to know with that, right? So, long story short, we had $5 contracts in there at the beginning. Okay, stock ran up. It was about $2-3. Stock ran up to 530. Right? We I don't want to say rolled. We took those options, sold them, bought tens, used some of that money to go fund some other operations that we were doing. So there's stock stuff that we wanted to go into, or crypto. Can't remember. Long story short, the tens were hit. Okay, now hear me out. So last week there was a deal. Okay, so when I said that they're a Bitcoin mining company, they do mine Bitcoin, right? They have Bitcoin. Okay, but they're pivoting into AI. Okay, now with AI, the only thing that you need to know is like the main thing. It's like the juice of that, right? You see what you have as Chat GPT. You see like Grok AI. You see all these AI models, but at the base of all those models is data centers and energy and data centers and energy. Okay, so either way, you need more energy. Okay, you need more space for your data centers. Okay, but it's really an energy thing. Okay, the bigger the better, right? And a couple other things play into that, but that's the basis. So these miners are, and it's not just a Wolf thing. A couple of these miners are starting to figure this out. You got to think that these guys make money, and they base it on the cost basis of how much they make per watt of electricity that they output, because they're paying for electricity. That's probably their business biggest expense. Now, with Wolf, the difference is, I told you, they're a miner, but they're trying to be a zero net carbon miner. They've always tried to do that. They wanted to do a nuclear reactor kind of way of making this clean stuff, but they didn't. The main reason why I invested in this company, by the way, is not just because of the mining, but it's their board team. Though that CEO that they have, I believe it's still the same guy. They're like rocket scientists. Okay, they're very, very smart. And again, at the time, Bitcoin is what attracted me, because it's Bitcoin. And then also what attracted me was I saw that they had a toxic lender, and I know that if you get a toxic lender, there's a possibility for synthetic or counterfeit shares. There's a possibility for it's just a nice little storm. Okay, I look for plays that not only they look good on one version, but they have multiple ways that it can affect the share price, right, in my favor of whatever I'm trying to do. Okay, long story short, they cut a deal last Thursday to get a facility in New York. I believe Mariner saltwater Mariner. Oh, that's not saltwater Mariner facility in New York. Doesn't matter. Either way, the deal initially was for, I think it was about 180, 130 megawatts. Okay, which is when they were talking about the revenue, I think the revenue was about 3 to 6 billion that they were trying to make. Okay, but anyway, it comes from the main company that's really working with these guys is called Fluid Stack. Okay, but somebody who's also in there, I don't want to say third partying, but they're helping with a whole lot of the financing, so that Wulf themselves don't have to go to, and that's the name of the company, that they don't have to go to the same means that they did in the first place. When these companies start investing into other companies, they look at their balance sheets, so they know their track record, right? They know what they did in the past that could have messed them up to get to, you know what I'm saying? They're looking for them to like, okay, well, why are you $3-4 if this is, and they tell them, hey, this is what happened. We had a history with a shaky character back in the day, and but this is what we do. These are our assets. This is the brains that we have of this operation, right? They tell them all these things and like, okay, but with your help, right, we can do this. Not only can we do it right, but we can do it the right way. We just need to not be able to have to go down those same channels to deal with these shady people. And what happened was, instead of getting financed by shady people, okay, you're dealing with Fluid Stack, but you're getting financed by Google. And the main thing that Google wants out of this, that they got out of this, at first, was an 8% stake in Wulf last Thursday. Okay, I bumped the price up from $5, and I told you the way that it's sitting on that chart, and I tell you all the time, chart patterns are an indication, people say, are an indication of like news in the future. Okay, and that is why. The way that it was sitting on that 200 MA, it wasn't just the daily, it was the weekly, and then I was watching the monthly. Well, now I'm watching the monthly, but I was always, my level, you know what I'm saying? We're going to get there. Either way, stock was looking good and was looking good. Like, remember what I said, that weekly 200 MA sitting on it, looking nice. Remember that. That was the setup. Remember that for when I talk about this next one. Okay, so they got the deal from Google, 8%. Their stock went from $5 to $8, 40, 50% in a day. Okay, and then it ran up some more the next day on a Friday to around $9, $9.27. So at that point in time, I had a video recorded, but again, it was my birthday. Okay, on when was my birthday? Oh yeah, my birthday was Saturday the 16th. So, I was busy. I was doing stuff. I had family in town, and honestly, if people were there, they were there, and I didn't want to. Like I said, I'm only gonna update if I'm doing something. And since how I didn't do anything, I didn't give an update. There's no reason to give one. Like there was stuff to do, but like I said, I like to take this time to tell you that I am not your financial advisor. Any information? Hold on. Okay, that's something else. Actually, that's a sign right there. Any information, nothing I say on here is an indicator for you to buy or sell anything, right? This is just simply a documentation of my trading journey. And the reason why me saying that the 16th, 17th, today is the 18th of August. I'm not aware of the time, but that is what today's date is. Anyway, back onto this. So my thinking in my head was, yeah, I could sell my 10s on last Friday, but I was like, I can see it going higher based off the chart. Oh, let me wait a second. And then let me come up with a plan too, because I wanted to, this is those contracts that we got when we moved from the 5% or from the 5 strikes to the 10. Okay, the 10s I believe cost me probably, I want to say $60 a pop, right? Today they're near $400. Okay, let's say 380, 370, 360 I believe is when I just, and that's what I'm telling you right now. I sold the 10s, okay? And what I did was I went to the 12s. But I didn't go a year out this time, and let me tell you why. The price right now, it's at the point to where, can it keep going? Yes. But I can also see it coming down. Why? To touch the 200 MA again, or somewhere near there, all right? But what I did do is, because I still want exposure, because like I said, this play is heavily shorted, okay? I know it is. But not only just with my theory of the counterfeit short sales, okay, that's fine, but also just it's 30% short interest. People can see that. They saw that already, right? So I can see it running some more. So what I did was, instead of going out and buying year outs for $12, 12.5s, okay, they were expensive. I could have bought them, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I think that it can come down a little bit. Can it run? Yeah, cool. What I did was I went into a date just a month out, September like 29th or 21st. I can't remember. It's the last day in September, last day that they'll show expiry for 12s. Okay, bought 12s, and then what I did with the remaining of the cash. Okay, we're going to talk about that later. But for the stock price went up again from $9 to $10.27. That's when we just sold today. Okay, and the reason why it went up with that is because originally when Google came with that plan on Thursday, it came with a possibility of 2 extensions for 10 years in total. Is that they want to be involved with this company. Okay, and everybody didn't know exactly what date that they were going to do to prolong or to actually enact this. They did one of them today. Okay, so they just bumped their megawatt usage up to like 360 megawatts. At the end of the day, when this facility is up and running in second quarter of 2026, I believe is what it said, it's going to be like, if it's not the largest, it's like the top 3 largest data centers for AI in the United States. Big deal. Okay, the biggest deal about that, Google now owns, they went from an 8% ownership to a 14% ownership. They are the biggest stockholders of Wulf out of everybody. 14%. In 3 business days, they own 13%, they own 14% of a $4 or $5 stock that is pivoting into AI. That was nobody. Okay, so I want to tell you, I mean, we can go into detail, but think about it like this. If they're not mining, cool. I think a lot of these tech companies are taking a page out of Tesla's book, which is, everybody thinks it's a car company. It's not. It's a tech company, and they do multiple things. You can do multiple things. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Even if they choose not to continue mining Bitcoin because it's more profitable per watt to do what they're doing with AI and data centers, they still hold, I don't know, I think it's like 20,000 to 100,000 BTC. That price goes up. What do you think? They got money. Okay, they have money to do with that as they wish. Okay, they can use that to expand their operation. They can use that to do anything. But the main thing here is Google owns 14% of that company now, right? That's a big deal. And that's only one aspect of that deal. They can get a possibility of 2 more. Right now, the expected revenue, I believe, is about $6 billion. $6 billion right now, I think, is contracted, but it's got a possibility to go up to $16 billion. Okay, so 3x. 3x from where it's at is $30. If you look at the chart, like I said, it bumped through the monthly and now bumped through the quarterly. Okay, now the quarterly 200 MA, it's only done that one time, or once or twice, but the one time it's done that, popped, came back down, right, touched the 200, chilled there for like a little while, I don't know how long, ran to 40 bucks. Okay, again, I told you there's a possibility that can happen in there. Can I tell you for sure that's gonna? Nah, I can't, but like, my money is there. Okay, so anyway, I sold, and I didn't, now this is what I didn't do. I didn't put the majority, like last time with the 5s, I took all that cash, besides a little portion, probably 30% of it I used to fund other things, but mainly the rest of that was back into Wulf. This time, for this short duration, I took around 30% of what I made and put that back into Wulf to the 12s for that month out, okay? Just in case it wants to run and do its extra pop, just in case it got something else going on. If it doesn't, that's fine. But I need the price to chill out. You know, if the price chills out and that thing ends up going real low on those options, that's fine. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to those options, and I'm either gonna sell those for a loss, and then take parts of that profit, or take a part of whatever is left, and then mix it with whatever I still have left of Wulf, and then go get some more yearlies out for a different strike, and I'll update you as that comes. Okay, so now the Wulf update is done, right? So let me give you what I did with it. So remember what I told you about the weekly, the chart looked good on Wulf. You don't normally see it sitting at a spot like that on the above the 200 MA on the weekly. Ford, another company that we talk about. Now Coca-Cola didn't touch that. Levi still haven't touched that. They need to continue to do what they do and look good for me to come back and put more into there, okay? But what I did buy is I bought a little bit of Crcl. Tesla looks really nice to me. I bought a significant part of Tesla again. Not again, but like I talked about it before, I bought that now. Okay, I like how it looks. It looks like it can go from 300 bucks up to 700 bucks. I don't know how long it's gonna take. It could be a year, it could be 2 years. Don't know, don't care. That's a 3x. It's 300% move. Okay, it's a lot. Okay, you go to a hedge fund or people like that move money around. They promise these rich guys like 10%. Again, 10% for them is cool. When you got millions and millions, it doesn't really matter. It's the percentage thing. So you gotta understand. Like, all money is, not gonna get into that, but what we did do, Ford, I got into options year out, $12 strike. Okay, I believe that ended in September. That's what I bought mainly of. It's the Ford $12 strikes, and the reasoning is because Ford has something brewing. Okay, their chart looks like they have something brewing, but what I'm seeing from them, they're getting praises from Elon. the guy that is now, I don't know if he's head of their design or head of their, he's head of something. He's in the top line, but he used to work over there with Tesla. Somehow he worked his way over there to Ford. Don't know how, but he's there. Okay, Elon praises him all the time. They praise Ford. What I can get from it is I think it's something to do with manufacturing, and I think it's something to do with manufacturing EVs, and I think it's something like back in the day, if you know, Ford made its name when they came out like the Model Ts, but it was the assembly line that they pretty much introduced to everybody. It allowed them to produce these vehicles at scale, okay, and also at a cheaper, more affordable price than most cars were, okay, to make it to where not could be, you know, normally it's like the richest, you know, but like people with a lot of money could go and get these cars originally, but since they were able to cut the cost down, it was more available to everyone. Hence, the company can make more money, okay. So they're teasing a $30,000 electric vehicle. That is cheap for an electric vehicle for the majority of people to be able to get into, okay? So that's what I know a little bit about that. But also I told you, like, I like Ford because I could see them adopting into crypto. Multiple, again, pick plays that have multiple catalysts to affect their price, right? So that's what I did. I bought a little bit of Crcl. I bought a little bit of Tesla, more Tesla than I did the Crcl. Options in for $12 strike September. Okay. Woo! You might have another update coming in the middle of this week, man. We're on a roll. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, we're on a roll. I'm trying to think and see if I bought anything else. I bought some more XRP, of course. There's nothing to say on that. And for people, I gotta say this too. I keep on seeing people, and what it is people don't have patience. I get it, and people are starting to they're like, oh, well, the court case is over, and it says people are using XRP for this, and they're using XRP for this, but the price of XRP isn't up, bro. That's how it works. That's how it goes. When I tell you about manipulation, it would be worse if that was a stock. It would be way worse. But when I tell you like there's manipulation in these areas, that is what I'm talking about. There's manipulation in these areas, because how else? Why isn't it? You know what I'm saying? That is what I'm trying to tell you. And stuff doesn't work how you think that it works. But when you really think about it, like people like me, like some people understand already that the world is not black and white. Okay, the stuff that is out there that's supposed to work like this doesn't end up working like that. Okay, so why is it a surprise that at this different level, you know, that it doesn't work? I understand this, you know what I'm saying? People think that this, because it's financial, it should be somewhat legitimate. There's rich people here. Well, how is it not legitimate? It's because nothing works as it's supposed to be intended. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to understand that. As long as you're aware, you're good to go, you know? Again, with a lot of this stuff, man, I don't see the stuff at where it's at. I see it at where I know it is, okay? Where I know can happen. And no matter what happens, I'm okay with it. You understand? When I tell you that when you get to a point to where when you don't care what happens, that's why you don't risk more than you're willing to lose, okay? Because then that takes the emotion out of that. When you take your emotion out of your investments, when you take your emotion out of anything, that is when you can attain, for me, that is when stuff ends up coming, okay? I don't worry about most things. I'm not afraid of anything. I don't fear anything. I don't live in survival. I don't do anything like that, okay? I live how I want to live. No matter what happens, I don't care. If something doesn't serve my purpose, I don't care about it. Let me give me an example. Like the stuff over there in Egypt, you know, with the pyramids, that stuff is cool. But like that information, if something comes out about that is not going to affect my day because it doesn't serve my purpose. Okay. Now, some people might think, oh, that sounds egotistical. I don't care if it does. It should sound a little bit egotistical, but it's really not, because what's more important at the end of the day? Something external that doesn't affect me, or how I am on the inside? That's what's more important, is it's dealing with you. That is what's more important, okay? And that's just the way that I think about it. You can do whatever you want to do, but that's how I do my things. That's how I used to be way different, okay? And ever since I started to change my mindset and really my subconscious, that's when things change, okay? That's when I tell you that beliefs are not important, okay? Honestly, beliefs do more harm than they do good. And you got to understand that, you know, the basis of people worry about what other people think about them, like you can't, okay? Because even if you did, you got to understand that people are they see things in the way that they, you know, based off of their beliefs already. And if you argue with somebody based off their beliefs, there's no point, because are you going to change their beliefs? No. So you're not going to change how they see you. Okay? So if I can't change how somebody sees me, why am I going to worry about it? You understand? It's actually very refreshing and very, like, just releasing to understand that, because then you don't really worry about anything. Then you don't care about what this person says or what happens over here or what happens over here, because it doesn't really affect you. You know what I mean? So that's all I got for y'all today, man. I gotta get out of here, get my hair looking okay, so I can get back in this gym tomorrow. But yeah, so there's your update, man. You're gonna get one later on in the beginning of the week. I'm out of here. Deuces.